Hi and welcome to the Monday Live. Here we are again, starting a new week, starting a new month. Because of course it was just still June, I think, last Monday. So we are teamsing. We are leading at teams for this month. July tends to be my Teams month when I focus on that. Of course, that's what I play on the Wednesday nights for the most part. Good fun form of the game. We'll mention it again how it works, and we'll look at my intro to the topic, most of which is taken from the big seminar, but with the odd extra hand included, and then we'll branch out beyond that. A bit damp this morning, but I think we're coming back to sunshine again. What have I got coming up? Well, I'm still in the country, but I do head off with the family on a cruise at the end of this month. So we're going to the Azores with a bridge group, so that should be fun. And on the website, the Fridays, we are still strong overcalling. Looking at slightly more realistic auctions where you get interfered with, and in fact our 5-level decision involves a little bit of interference as well. Still cruising, of course, lots of cruises to look at for you. The holidays, we are very close to being able to get things going. Please, if you've got any queries or questions about holidays, just ring the office. We can sort those out for you, but we're getting primed and excited to be able to launch lots of things for you very soon. At the moment though, my launch is slightly different, so let's get to that launch. There you go. So a number of people have asked for Wales. Well, we have got Wales, so there you go. We're going to try and go to Llandudno in April of next year, and you've got a special early bird offer available for you there. So that is at Llandudno. I think it's midweek, 27th to 29th. So we'll have some fun there. We're actually going to stay. There's no sound. That's odd. Okay, looks like there's but looks like there might not have been sound there. So not quite sure why, but so we're going to Wales, and in fact Helen and myself and Alfie are going to stay there before the cruise we're doing, because we're going from Liverpool at the end of the month. So we are going to stay there and check it out. Not that it hasn't been checked out by two of the members of my team already. So looking forward to that. So don't forget, Llandudno. So I'll just show you that one more time so you can see it there, but that's it. That is exciting. Beyond that, we've got other things going on, new venues, etc. Always on the lookout for new ones. Of course, Milton Hill House. We've also excited about the changes that Denham are doing, and they are trying to make things better for us. So I do recommend, and we'll be launching that and explaining that next week as well. So lots of things going on. However, let's focus on the bridge. We've got our 5-level decision, we've got our seminar, and then we've got the bidding quiz. So let's get on with that. Let's start with the 5-level decision. So this one is annoying. So it's on the topic. So North opens a diamond, and you've got to make a plan with this East hand. And I've got to say, surely this is too strong to just overcall one heart. Now on the hand, it might have worked out in your favour if you'd overcalled a heart, but to me this hand is so strong that I want to get partner quite excited if partner's got something, and that's when we start with a double, and that's what you chose to do. Annoyingly though, South stretch raised to 3 diamonds, and after your partner passed, North bid 5 diamonds, and it is your turn to bid. Isn't that ugly? So partner thinks you've just got a normal takeout double, which is certainly not what you have. The opponents are non-vulnerable, you are vulnerable, which makes it even uglier. So you've got to decide what to do. So you started with a double, and you were planning to rebid 2 hearts, or maybe even 3 hearts if you were forced to, but unfortunately North has now leapt to 5 diamonds. So it's your choice of bid. Excuse me, and we'll come back to that, of course. We'll come back to that after our little seminar. It's very much on topic, as it were, for the Friday lives that we're doing at the moment, basically dealing with strong hands. We have a plan, and as you know, very often your plan doesn't have a chance to come to fruition. We have this with strong hands. Sometimes you open 2 clubs thinking I'll show it this way. Suddenly someone's overcalled 2 spades and they've got to 4 spades. Okay, let's get excuse me, a little tickle there. So opening leads at teams of 4 bridge. So a quick reminder of how the teams works. You basically, here you've got 4 hands, and you play the games north-south and east-west. So one pair is north-south, so the top scorecard there is our north-south pair, and you can see the opponents are making games and they are losing 450, 450, etc. The second scorecard, the 4 hands below, are the east-west pair. And you top the 2 together, so on board 1 plus 420 and minus 450 is a difference of 30. You then use the imp scale to work out what the score is, and that's what we're interested in here because it says a lot about the tactics. On these 2 boards, the important one in teams terms is the game swing. On board 4, our teammates have made 4 hearts, but we've managed to get 4 hearts 1 off. That was vulnerable, and it ends up with a 720 point swing, which translates to 12 points in teams. That is wonderful. Notice the other 3. We have lost the other 3, and on the other 3 it's just 1 imp. Okay, so an over trick. Now, playing duplicate, as someone's saying there, David's saying focus on duplicate. Absolutely, we spend 90% of our time focusing on duplicate. What's interesting though is most of the international bridge world, so most of your experts in your clubs will base their system around playing teams bridge. And it makes it a strange thing, because a lot of people think, oh, why doesn't anybody ever play weak no trump? Well, the weak no trump is wonderful for pairs bridge, funnily enough. The reason why a lot of people end up teaching 5-card major, strong no trump, those kind of things, is because they play most of the time teams. But most of us who play at clubs play most of the time pairs. However, on our July, we do our 1 month on teams. And the key here is out of the 4 boards, you have lost 3 and won 4. Now, if you were playing pairs, you would be over the moon. Sorry, I say that. If we were playing pairs, we would be very unhappy because we would have got 3 bad boards and 1 good board. That's 25%, let's say. However, playing teams, it's the size of that score in the right-hand column that makes all the difference. In the 2 right-hand columns, I should say. So the fact you've won 12 and lost 3 means you're very happy indeed. Playing pairs, every trick counts. So greed is good playing pairs. Playing teams, you can take risks. So let's put that into perspective. Okay, so there's your imp score. In fact, I haven't gone up to 12. 12 is 600 to 740, but this is all about looking at the over tricks and the 0 to 10. So 0 to 10, a 10-point difference between no trumps and 4 spades, for example, making the same number of tricks, is worthless at teams. At pairs, it's very valuable indeed. An over trick at pairs, massively important. At teams, 1 or 2 imps. As you can see, a game swing is much more important. So let's try and put that into the ideas. So playing pairs, on that scoreboard I just showed you, you would have got 3 tops for making 3 over tricks and 1 bottom for going down. So that makes it very much worthwhile actually risking your contract for an over trick. Crazy, isn't it? But you do, yeah, absolutely. I will take finesses deliberately, risking my contract in an attempt to make an over trick. Okay. However, playing teams, what we've seen is risking that gives you just one imp. Okay. So we're not going to take the risks playing teams. So playing pairs, you'd have got 75%. Playing teams, you would have lost 9. So the difference between the two games is important. Okay, as a declarer, you're going to play safe to make your contract. As defenders, we are going to attack. So as defenders, you don't mind giving an over trick away. It's just one imp. What we're going to desperately try and do is get the contract down. So it's very interesting. Declarer play, you tend to play a bit safer. Defending, you tend to attack more. Okay, so over trick's not so important, so I'm prepared to take a risk. Okay, and so we are going to be making aggressive leads and switches as well, for that matter. Now, there are certain leads on the list that I don't like, because I spend most of my time, of course, talking about pairs. So I'll tell you not to do this and not to do that. Some of those change when you're playing teams. Because your aim is to find a way to defeat the contract, we're going to say that sometimes doubleton honour. I'll take a gamble. Go on, I'll lead it. I know some of you lead it anyway, but playing pairs, so it's too much of a risk. What I'm going to do is show you a couple of hands at the end where we will compare the pairs and the teams, and we'll see that there would be a difference. So leading away from a solitary honour when you've just got 4 cards, it's not great playing pairs. Playing teams, I need to make an extra trick by establishing length, so I'll do it. And as a defender, being optimistic is important. Okay, so your type of lead will often depend on the auction. So bear in mind that if the opponents seem to be struggling into a contract, because they do stretch to games, so, well, I'll show you one in a moment. 1 no trump, 2 no trumps, 3 no trumps is a classic one. Let's put it up there. Now, at this point, I will defend the same way at both forms of the game, because an auction like 1 no trump, 2 no trumps, 3 no trumps is very much limited. Says they've probably only got about 25 points. Knowing some of us at teams, we push, might even be 24. So I think probably it's a 50-50 shot that they even make the contract. So here I might not need to risk. I might just let my opponents struggle. Whereas if you have an auction like this, 1 heart, 3 hearts, 4 diamonds, 4 hearts. The 4 diamond bid from the opening bidder sounds as if he's trying for a slam. So now the chances of getting the contract down seem very low. I am going to attack. Okay, so when they're limited, the two styles of defense are going to be quite similar. But when you think they're quite strong or have a big range, we're tending to attack a bit more. Okay, so active defense required. So in the big seminar, I asked you to place these 9 leads. They're not in the right place at the moment. There's 9 types of lead, and what I wanted you to do was decide where each one was. And if you've seen the big seminar, you'd have seen me doing this. So let's start with the top left, leading away from a solitary honour. We're putting it somewhere between passive, active, or even better, both. So passive is a safe lead, active is a risky lead. The ideal scenario is you find a lead that is both, i.e. it is safe, but it also could establish tricks. So leading away from a solitary honour generally is a bit risky for me. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the risky pile. Trump leads, generally they're going to be safe and attacking. I'll put them in between. Okay, because as we'll find, it generally, when opening leading, sometimes an auction says lead a trump. And if you get it right, you can draw all the declarer's trumps and stop him roughing. So it can be attacking lead, but it certainly can be safe as well. A singleton trump, I think that's a bit risky. We're going to put that in the risky pile. On a doubleton, so going back to the left, on a doubleton, well, if you listen to me talk about duplicate pairs, you'll know that I don't like those leads unless it's in an unbid suit. So for me, that's a very risky lead. Fine at teams, as we're going to discuss. Top of a sequence of 3 high cards, we love it. That is one of our favourite types of leads. King, Queen, Jack, lead the king, so often develops tricks, but it's also safe. So that's one of our favourite leads. What about high from a bad suit? High from a bad suit, I think that's safe, relatively. It's not necessarily attacking, you're not going to do a huge amount of damage, but you're not leading away from an honour. So hopefully you might be leading up to partner's honour, which is generally a better thing. What about ace from ace king? To me, that's relatively safe and it's attacking. Okay, it's not quite perhaps as safe as king, queen, jack, but quite often it gives you the opportunity to give your partner a ruff as well. So even if the opponents have the queen and you play the ace king and establish it, you might be giving partner a ruff. So ace from ace king, I like. Leading an ace without the king, again, if you listen to me regularly, you know that's an active lead. It's too risky. And of course, a singleton. I think it's probably attacking. I'm not sure how safe it is. So you could almost put the singleton, well, it's a little bit to the right, isn't it? Just about. Because a singleton can give a trick away, of course. But there's a fairly good chance you might get a ruff. If your partner's got the ace of the suit led, he can give you a ruff straight away. If he's got an ace or an entry in trumps, again, he might be able to give you a ruff. So it's an attacking lead, but it's generally an okay lead. So what I want to do here is look at the list on the right. So let's transport them onto another page there. So there's the list. These are leads that I'm not particularly happy playing pairs bridge. Leading away from a king, just 4 cards particularly. If you've got a 5-card suit against no trumps, it can be worth the risk, particularly if you've got an entry, because you may well be able to establish the long suit, and that is a good thing in the long run. But 4-card suits with a solitary honour are just overtly risky. Those of you who are familiar with the idea of a frozen suit, very often if you've just got 4, you may well give a trick or a half trick away. Singleton trumps, the problem is partner could be sitting with queen to 4, queen 10 to 4, something like that, and your singleton lead gives away his holding. Okay, when you've got a singleton trump, you're usually quite excited because partner's going to have 4, might make it difficult for the opponents. They'll maybe play the ace and take the finesse the wrong way, and suddenly they're in troubles because partner can lead another trump and they'll run out of trumps very quickly. If you lead a trump, you might help declare pick up that suit. Okay, so it's a risky lead, but it can be an attacking lead, and again therefore it comes into focus playing teams where you're prepared to gamble because your job is to stop them roughing, for example. On a doubleton, in an unbid suit, we're happy in both places, but if it's a random auction, leading it on a doubleton is more often than not going to give a trick away. But if you're desperate, and of course we've already seen the kind of auction where I might lead it, then we'll do it, and we'll see an example. That's the example I'm taking from the big seminar. Leading an ace without a king, I do not like. However, there'll be times playing teams that you think, do you know, I need some help here. I'm going to lead the ace, and if dummy tells me the right thing, I think I can get this contract down. However, playing pairs, it is not your job to get the contract down. It'll be very often your job to avoid an overtrick. So when you lead an ace without a king, you look at dummy and think, well, it doesn't look as though we're getting this contract down. You've probably already given the overtrick away. Okay, playing teams, you lead the ace, doesn't look as though I'm getting it down, doesn't matter that much if they make an overtrick. But sometimes you will then see the way to get it down. 1 in 4 times, 1 in 5 times. That's worth it playing teams. Playing pairs, it's not, because 3 out of the 5 times you give an overtrick away and your partner gets depressed. Okay, so these are the kind of leads we will be doing sometimes. Don't get me wrong, if you've got an ordinary lead, King, Queen, Jack, for example, we love. So we don't have to do anything more dynamic than that. So all of those leads that were in the relatively safe and attacking, we're going to do anyway. It's just when we haven't got one of those and we feel that they are likely to make a contract. Quite a lot of part scores. Again, you'll be thinking, yeah, I'm sure they've got plenty of strength here. I've only got 4 points. Maybe they should have been in game. The chances of getting the contract down are so low. Let's attack. Okay. And of course, you've seen me doing this, hopefully, and talking about it on the Wednesdays. So on the Wednesdays, when I play teams, you get a chance to see it. There'll be times that I'll say, look, let's attack here. Because, you know, it looks like they're likely to make this contract. Let's attack. Don't always get it right, but hopefully you get the idea. So let's look at the 2 example hands, and then we will settle away. So this is the hand from the seminar. I've got a new one to come up afterwards. So this is a classic hand. I think it's pretty obvious when you look at the hand what it's going to be. The auction goes 1 heart, 3 hearts. We've got no interest, and South makes a slam try here. South makes a slam try, and then it goes 4 hearts. Now there are actually a couple of inferences in your favour here, because the slam try made by South has missed out clubs. So actually it's, you know, you could contemplate possibly leading the king of clubs playing pairs as well. If I changed the diamonds and clubs around and made it a 4 club cupid and then 4 hearts, and you had king doubleton diamond, then it's definitely not something you would lead playing pairs, but it's definitely something you would consider playing teams. Here, to me, South is saying he's got the equivalent of 19 points. He thinks there could be a slam on. So if he's got the equivalent of 19, including distribution, North has shown 11. I don't expect to get this contract down without quite a bit of luck. So I am prepared to gamble on leading that king of clubs partner. If you've got the ace, give me a rough. If you've got the queen and maybe the ace of trumps, give me a rough. Okay. It's not going to work very often, but it probably will work enough for you to gain. So let's say you give a trick away 3 times out of 5. It doesn't give a trick away 1 time, and on the 5th time you gain a trick. That is worthwhile. You give 3 imps away for the over tricks, you gain 12 when you get the rough. Okay, so you take a wild gamble in a way, and it is relatively wild. So I've given the defence just 11 points there. We've got 3 obvious tricks: the king of clubs, the ace of clubs, and the ace of spades. But obviously on the king of clubs lead, it'll go king, ace, and a rough, and you make the spade trick as well. So it's an attacking lead. It won't often get the contract down, but the key is by doing it, you give yourself the chance. Now, what I do now is show you the layout where it doesn't work. So 4 hearts minus 1 is gorgeous, and obviously I'm probably not going to make that lead at pairs necessarily. And so therefore I won't get this contract down playing pairs, which seems crazy, doesn't it? But I'm not prepared to gamble in the same way, because quite often I'm going to end up giving an over trick away. So I mean, let's change it and put this hand up. Okay, so it goes 1 heart, 3 hearts, quite an aggressive 3 hearts from North, with just a flat hand. And in those you count losers, it's a 9 loser hand. But I mean, with ace, queen, jack, and queen, jack, as well as 4 hearts, it seems reasonable. Over 4 diamonds, you clearly quickly sign off in 4 hearts because you feel your minimum. And here, if you get the king of clubs lead, I'm afraid to say Declara has an easy time of it and will just lose 2 aces. Because clearly Declara is going to play partner for the jack if he needs to. Probably can discard the extra club on the spades anyway. But the king of clubs would be a disaster playing pairs. Okay, it would end up giving Declara the extra trick. So you've got to be careful. It went 1 heart, 3 hearts, 4 diamonds, don't forget. So 4 diamonds would just be a cubit. It's not a jump to 4 diamonds here. So remember, a jump to 4 diamonds is a very different thing. That would be a splinter bit. So you can see why South was trying. South has got 18 points and a 5-card suit. Perfectly reasonable, perhaps, to try. The 4 diamond bid does 2 things. It says I've got something in diamonds, but it also denies something in clubs. By something we mean ace or king or the first or second round control. The fact that you are denying that might persuade West to gamble on the king of clubs lead anyway, but you can see it's a big risk. Playing teams though, you're not particularly worried. You do not feel that giving that king of clubs away is going to make the difference between making the contract and not. So here, declarer is surely always going to make 4 hearts. Just short, at most, losing the ace of spades, the ace of hearts, and the king of clubs. Okay, so declarer will make 4 hearts. The leader, the king of clubs, gives 1 trick away. Okay, I think it's a reasonable gamble. The gamble doesn't pay off here. You maybe end up giving 1 imp to the opponents. That's okay. As I say, you can do that 4 or 5 times. Yes, your partners might get a bit fed up thinking, come on. But eventually when you hit gold dust, 1 in 5 times, hopefully, you then take it down. And that king of clubs lead is very much worthwhile because you will gain the equivalent to 12 imps we saw if it's a vulnerable game, for example. 12 imps as against just losing the odd one. Okay, let's look at one last example then. Here we go. And again, this is a classic hand where I would feel there'll be a difference between the 2 games. So let's look at the auction. Clearly, you are not bidding. Surprise, surprise. 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 no trumps, 3 no trumps. Okay, so 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 no trumps, 3 no trumps. What do we think? So I'm quite happy for you to give me 2 answers, a team's answer and a pair's answer. Now, if they are the same, that is absolutely fine. Okay. So another way of putting it is, can you think of a passive lead and can you think of an attacking lead? Okay. So at pairs, you'll think to yourself, well, most of the time they're probably making over tricks here, but I tell you what, I'll lead one of the unbid suits. I don't really want to lead from King Jack because that's taking a gamble, so I will lead the 9 or the 8 of clubs. Okay, that seems a relatively safe lead. Declarer will get on and make however many tricks he can. And you know, if he makes 10 tricks, you're hoping that you haven't given one away. Okay, so you're playing passively, playing pairs, expecting them to make it most of the time, not giving over tricks away. Now, teams, it is quite possible, no doubt, that North could just have 6 points here. You could have 19 in the South hand, and North could have just 6. But it's equally possible that North might put a 10 count down. So there's a big range for North, and a lot of the time, I would say probably 70% of the time, you're expecting them to make this contract. No, I'm going to say 85% of the time. Okay, so I would feel it is worth attacking here. So on a club lead, I don't think we're going to make great inroads into 3 no trumps. However, so what you do is you think about, what would I require to get this contract down? Well, I think it's not unreasonable to think that if partner has a diamond honour, well, one of the top 4, you've got 2 of them. So let's say partner has the queen or the ace of diamonds. Well, then there's a chance, isn't there? Because if anybody's got an entry, it's partner. So let's give partner 2 aces or even just the ace of hearts and the queen of diamonds. He's got an entry. So let's establish his suit. The problem comes when you lead low. Because if you lead a small diamond here, you hit gold dust. Your partner's got the queen. And if declarer wins the ace, can you see what's happened? Even if declarer ducks and wins the ace on the next round, you have blocked the suit. So as a number of you suggested, what we're going to do here is gamble on leading either the king or the jack of diamonds. I prefer the jack, and that's what's been suggested most of the time. What we're going to do is lead a high diamond we're taking a gamble. We're hoping partner's got something high. Jack of diamonds gives you slightly extra chances in the sense, I suppose, partner might have the ace and dummy might have the queen. And you might think, well, surely you could lead small, partner wins the ace, and then you can finesse declarer's queen, and he's more likely to have it. That is true, but you will have blocked the suit. And that's the key here. So the blockage is the key. I want to keep the 3 of diamonds to hopefully allow me to lead to my partner later on in the hand, or simply to allow partner to win the 3rd round of the suit. So we are aggressively leading diamond. So let's look at the hand. Here's the first type of hand. Well, you can see dummy comes down with 10 points. So there is very little chance of us defeating this contract. You can see declarer has 4 spade tricks, 3 club tricks and the ace of diamonds. So he's got 8 tricks. If we start off with a passive club, declarer quickly knocks out the ace of hearts and is home, and there's no surprise there. So what we've decided to do is take the gamble on the diamond lead. Okay, it is a gamble, and I think most of the time, probably half the time it will give a trick away. 30% of the time it might not make any difference, and maybe 20% of the time it will allow you to get the contract down. So I still think that 3 times, probably it's 3 times as likely that you give a trick away than you will get it down, but that is good odds playing teams. Playing pairs, I'm leading a club. So playing pairs, I'm not going to get this contract down. Okay, declarer is going to make an over trick, and so be it. Okay, playing teams, I lead the diamond, I knock out the ace. Declarer can duck. Remember, you must throw the king underneath the ace here. So you lead the jack, your partner plays the 8, hopefully, or whichever form of attitude you play. Declarer ducks it, you must then lead the king, which loses to the ace, and your partner, when he wins the ace of hearts, is able to take his 3 diamond winners. Clearly, if declarer wins the ace, your partner will have seen the 10 in dummy, so he knows something strange is going on. He probably will predict that you've got Jack Doubleton, actually. So it's not always perfect. Partner wins the ace and thinking, well, if partner's got Jack Doubleton, you know, where do I go? But hopefully he'll appreciate that there is a chance that you've got the king, and that will be the only possible chance of defeating the contract. And that's the key here. Your partner should work out the only possible chance of getting the contract down is to lead a small diamond back to your king. But be aware, partner won't always get this right, because as soon as you see the jack of diamonds lead, you've got 5 of them, you can see the 10 in dummy, your first thought will be, partner's led Jack Doubleton, looking for my suit. Okay, so bear in mind that this is an option. Let me put up the other option though here. Okay, and now you're going to look really silly playing pairs. You're not going to look silly here. You're not going to look silly playing teams. All you're going to do is give 1 trick away. The jack of diamonds lead will run around to declarer's queen. Okay. Declarer makes an extra over trick. The point is, it is an extra over trick. Okay. If you lead a club, declarer just knocks out the ace of hearts, as we've seen, and happily makes 10 tricks. Okay. So playing pairs, prefer the club lead. Okay. And then declarer just makes his 10 tricks. And you might think, well, 10 tricks, what's the point of that? Playing pairs, 3 no trumps, +1 is as good as you can do with the east-west cards. Does that make sense? And that is your job, playing pairs. You're not interested in attacking. You don't need to attack. As you can see, the jack of diamonds lead here immediately gives declarer an extra trick, and actually, if the defenders aren't careful, they might end up giving an extra trick away when they have to discard on the various long suits that are led. West might make the mistake, having given a trick away, of discarding a club, or again, East might make the mistake of either of discarding a 4th round of hearts, or East might get squeezed if the defence don't play the right cards back when they're put in. So I can imagine 3 no trumps +3 a few times, 3 no trumps +2 on the attacking diamond lead, and 3 no trumps +1 being the benchmark. So basically, if you keep declare at a 10 tricks here, you get an equal top. It's not an exciting one, but that's what pairs bridge is all about. Okay, is passivity. Okay, here instead, playing teams, your job is, if you think, declarers, it's like when dummy comes down. So dummy comes down with a 10 count and declarer is shown about 18. You know declarer is going to make 80% of the time, 90% of the time. Your job is to think, is there one card I can give my partner that could defeat this contract? And so on that hand, it would have been hoping he's got the king of diamonds as well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Let's go back to the Q+. So let's go back to this one. So this is really horrible, this one. Really horrible. So it's great bidding from your opponents, that's all I can say. Clearly, the difficulty you've got here is West could have nothing. Your partner could have nothing. Bear in mind you've got 17 points. But at the same time, North-South can see the vulnerability. They're non-vulnerable. They've jumped to 5 diamonds. Where South could have depending on how aggressively they play, South could just have 4 or 5 points in a singleton with 4 or 5 diamonds in his hand, jumps to 3 diamonds to get in the way, and now North maybe with 6 diamonds. I mean, it's completely possible that 5 hearts might make, but I just don't think you know. I just don't think you know. And I think it's not unreasonable to feel that 5 diamonds is going to go down most of the time. So I think you've got to double. And you've got to double knowing that you might not get the best score. But 5 hearts going 1 off would be depressing. So I think you've got to do something. And the most important thing in the auction is don't feel, oh, I wish I'd bid hearts. Everybody should be bidding the same here. If you just overcall 1 heart on this hand, too often things are going to go wrong. I mean, there's your partner's hand. Fortunately, you get a heart. You do make a heart trick. So you do manage to take 5 diamonds down. You know, so I would have been doubling there. I'm assuming that ends the auction. But you can see that, partner's bid. Let's pretend you haven't seen that. I'll have to take control of him. That's just terrible. Essentially, you've got to set it up. The computer has to be set up, and they play clearly double followed by double is just a stronger takeout, but not for me. Double is just saying, partner, I've got to bid again because I don't think they expect to make. But it's really tough. And I've got sympathy with West, I suppose, bidding something if you think partner. But remember, with a singleton diamond of your own, you can guess partner might be different. Here, 5 hearts goes 1 off. So, you know, what can you do? It's brilliant bidding. 5 diamonds is great bidding. And if you bid 5 hearts, it's even better bidding. Because if they push you to 5 hearts, let alone 5 spades, then they have got you out of your comfort zone. You have to guess. You hate it. But I feel you've got to double. You've got to do something. Okay. All you get is 100 points. Isn't that depressing with one of the nicest hands you're going to pick up? Just 100 points, but 100 is better than 50. And that's all you can say here. So really hard. I mean, it doesn't make much difference. I mean, if you'd overcalled hearts and partner had supported, you're probably going to be more likely wanting to bid 5 hearts. So in a way, the fact your partner didn't dredge, I mean, if your partner had dredged up 3 hearts, you're going to think you're going to make 5 hearts most of the time here, because you're placing, I think you're placing partner with a singleton diamond a lot of the time. For them to be able to bid so aggressively up to 5 diamonds, it doesn't surprise me they've got a 10 card fit. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Lots of things going on. As I say, whenever you need to contact, do give us a call. Don't forget, you can always become a member as well. But you don't have to be a member to see the answer to the quiz. So here's a nice quiz for you. A diamond from your right-hand opponent. You overcalled a heart. Pass 1, no trump. 2 clubs. 1 diamond, 1 heart overcall from you. Pass 1, no trump from partner. 2 clubs, and it's your bid. Nobody's vulnerable. Again, I think that's quite an interesting hand. Okay, so a diamond, a heart, pass 1, no trump, 2 clubs. You can see the answer on the website. whether you're a member or not. And as always, I do have to ask you, if you're not a member, why not? Come and join us. Remember, if you've never been before, you can join us free of charge. So what have we got for the rest of the week? Well, we've got our teams on Wednesday. We'll be looking out for the leads. And we have Friday. We are strong overcalling still. Okay, and looking at maybe the idea of when we've got 2 suits rather than 3. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and see you again soon.